Previously on No Cap Sports.
So I want to give the game ball to Deion Sanders, for bringing exposure, shining a light on HBCUs, and doing the whole spill about bringing us about the importance and bridging the resources gap. But also being the sacrificial lamb for what is a special PV run. Because when we get in the SWAC championship, we are kicking they ass, no doubts about it. So thank you, Deion, for setting the stage for a very competitive SWAC championship game. Thank you for being able to put us on national television and embarrass you in front of all your fans, Cowboys fans, Falcons fans, people that watched your show at some point, people that saw you as that was the dude wearing the afro backpedaling at the NFL Combine. Thank you, brother, for allowing Preview to have that spotlight and setting us up for success. So I appreciate it. I love everything that you've done for HBCU and SWAC football, and I'm ready to kick y'all's ass in front of a national audience.
Oh, okay, goddamn.
So, Josh, I got to give you the floor, bro. You said, and I'll quote, y'all was going to beat them in front of a national audience. Y'all went on ESPN, SWAC championship, prime time, 3 o'clock, and lost 27-10, bro. How that happen after you was talking like that, bro?
Put my glasses on for this analysis. First of all, you're talking to 2021 SWAC Western Division champion before you address anything else that happened. So start off with that on the basis. So we had a really good season, had a really good defense all year. We didn't play our best ball down the end of the stretch run. We ended the season on a 4-game losing streak, which isn't the best, but honestly, the offense wasn't able to produce the amount of points that we needed to get into the flow that they needed to get into to compete with Deion and Shiloh, or Shadur actually. So yeah, it was disappointing. It was a bad way to end the season, send the seniors out. But please don't forget that we were picked 4th in the SWAC Western Division's preseason poll. So the fact that we were even in Jackson playing the game is a damn good accomplishment in itself, and I have to commemorate our team on that. But at the end of the day, every game has a winner, every game has a loser, and we were on the losing side of that game. So it was tough, definitely tough.
Sounds like you're proud to get a consolation prize. We did better than we were supposed to. We won the West. We still played in the game. I mean,
bro, y'all lost, but you want to really know who won?
Who won?
Those kids in Africa who got the PV SWAC championship T-shirts, bro.
I ain't gonna lie, the SWAC not coming like that. They probably printed them up once the third quarter started. They was like, we're gonna make sure we don't have enough material in the SWAC to cover two winners. So I don't think they had enough prepared for us. Not gonna lie, but maybe they had like 5 or 6 shirts. I don't know. They were able to look nice on my body too, but it is what it is. They're a really good team. They got a lot of good guys out there. Some talented guys on offense. Their D-line really gave us problems up front. Talking about with our protections and protecting Puma. So, yeah, it was definitely something to where, the offense just couldn't get on track, couldn't put string drives together, couldn't put points on the board. And when you're playing in the game with that magnitude, that's really hard to overcome. You have your starter pulled at the beginning. You go into halftime or a field goal game, and you leave at the third quarter down 3 possessions. You can't put yourself in positions to hold like that, and that's what happened.
Yeah, bro. And we still mess with you, all of that, bro. But y'all lost in every facet of the game, bro. And you can't win a game like that. Because even the band lost, bro. Even the band lost.
I refuse to say that.
Can't get a win.
I refuse to say that. I take the Martin Storm versus any band in the land. So yeah, the undefeated actually just came out with an article a couple weeks ago talking about ranking all the HBCU bands, and the Marching Storm was first over what they call the Mouth of the South, Sonic
Sonic
Jukebox,
Boom.
whatever it's called. I know Memphis they got no band, so I mean it is what it is. But
We not in the swag. Why you got to bring us into it? We
I'm
not in
just
the
saying,
swag,
like
bro.
you was coming real hot with it. I'm just making sure, like you understand, like the environment that we play our games that you're not accustomed to. You can't even speak to it, brother. But enough with the hostility. I just I'm every loss in every phase of the game, every facet of the game. No, our band took over. I ain't gonna lie, but we'll leave it at that. Good season to those guys. Good season. Hope that just in terms of carrying on the conference legacy, I hope that they can go to Atlanta and beat up on South Carolina State. And bring the Celebration Bowl trophy back to the SWAC. That's all I can ask for.
Anyway, welcome back. Episode 6, No Cap Sports Podcast. And you know what that 6 stands for today? The number of passes that Prairie View A&M's quarterback completed Saturday in the SWAC championship, man. 6 for 19, so we're going to roll with it. So now we're going to talk about big time FBS football. And we finally got our college football playoff rankings. They're official now. The matchups are set. We got number 1, Alabama going to have to play number 4, Cincinnati. Number 2, Michigan is going to take on number 3, Georgia. And to round it out, we got number 5, Notre Dame, number 6, Baylor. So looking at the rankings off the rip, were they correct?
Yeah, for the most part, I think that I guess the main debate would be Michigan versus Alabama and 1. But honestly, Alabama has the best win in this college football season, and in the toughest conference in America. So, kind of hard to argue that. The committee has got a lot of criticism, especially with the whole Michigan State debacle early in the rankings, early in the season. But I don't think. I mean, with Baylor beating Oklahoma State, a lot of this stuff kind of took care of itself, honestly. So yeah, I think they got the top 4 right.
Who played the hardest schedule, Bama or Michigan?
There's nothing like going. I mean, speaking transparently, Big Ten football makes me sleepy. So I don't know how. I mean, those are probably tough, hard those games, but for my money, there's nothing like going to the SEC and having to play a top 25, top 30 team each and every week. So,
I mean, but that's not the case for Alabama, in all honesty. Alabama didn't have to play a top 30 team every week. Yes, they beat the current number 1 team, who was Georgia. So I think that alone puts them at above Michigan. But throughout the season, they didn't have a lengthy list of ranked wins. If you think about it, you look at who they played this season. They beat then ranked number 21 Arkansas team.
That was their best win, huh? Arkansas.
Yeah. And then they also beat a then ranked number 12 Ole Miss team, a then ranked number 11 Florida team, and they started out with Miami, who was ranked 14 at the beginning of the season, and we know where Miami is now.
Yeah.
So to say Alabama played all of this elite competition is not necessarily true. Yes, did they play SEC schedule? Yes, but are these teams necessarily ranked at the end of the year? Not necessarily. The only 2 teams I think that are still ranked are Ole Miss, and I think it might just be Ole Miss and Georgia.
Yeah, because Florida barely even made a bowl game. He's 6-6. But I think there was only one SEC big team matchup, and that was Auburn-Penn State. And Penn State came out with the dub in that. So, I mean, it's pretty even. So, I guess just because they have the best win out of both of those teams beating Georgia, I guess you could give them number 1. But I think I speak for the majority of people when I say just go ahead and run it back between Bama and Georgia in the semifinal. Don't nobody want to see that in the finals, bro. I think you should run it back, SEC championship. Winner goes to the national championship.
Yeah, and kind of piggybacking off of that, that would have happened if they didn't disrespect Cincinnati. It's very disrespectful to put undefeated conference champion. That's the 2 big things, right? Undefeated conference champion, Cincinnati team at number 4. This isn't the 4th best team in college football. This isn't the 4th best team out of this group based on how the regular season was. Based on the regular season, Cincinnati should be in that 2 or 3 spot, in my opinion. This is a team that has, look at this. Alabama, Michigan, Cincinnati. These are the 3 teams with top 10 wins in the final college football playoff ranking. Notre Dame is number 5. Cincinnati beat them early in the season, convincingly. So you're
So
telling me?
who are you putting them over? If you're gonna put them over Michigan, who just beat Ohio State, or Georgia, that was undefeated and lost to Alabama? Like, which one are you putting Cincinnati? Which team are you putting Cincinnati over?
I think Georgia has to move to that number 4 spot. They're the only team in the top 4 who doesn't have an end of year top 10 ranked win. The only team in the top 4 without that end of year top 10 ranked win. Alabama got it. Alabama got it in Georgia. Michigan got it in Ohio State. And Cincinnati got it in their win over Notre Dame. Georgia doesn't have a top 10 end of year ranked win.
That is true.
Yeah, think about it. You can only play the schedule that's assigned to you at the beginning of the season. At the beginning of the season, that was a top 5 win. That was supposed to be one of these wins that we look like at a Michigan, Ohio State.
You talking about Clemson, the Clemson win?
Yeah.
Okay. In that case, Cincinnati has a win over Notre Dame. They beat Houston, beat SMU, and Indiana was ranked when they played them. So
I mean,
Cincinnati really played the schedule they got.
I don't think they've ever had. I don't think there's ever been a drop from 1 to 4 on the final rankings. So, I mean, I can see what you're saying. I don't disagree per se, but just the way that the committee is set up and Gary Barta just having some inside knowledge about how they think, I really don't think that that was a possibility for Georgia ever to go from 1 to 4 losing Alabama.
I mean, but it's one thing, to lose, but they got blown out. Like, they got beat down. Yeah. It was over in the third quarter.
It was a very convincing Alabama win. Georgia never looked competitive in that game after halftime, or really going into halftime.
I don't really got a problem with the rankings, but I really just want to see Bama play Georgia again. Just run it back. I like the matchup. These are some good matchups, but it's just like, bro, if I get Georgia versus Alabama in the Natty, I might not watch it. Not gonna lie to you.
I feel the same way too. I ain't gonna lie. We missed out. I mean, Michigan, Ohio State went to bed and caused us to miss the best matchup. Would have been Georgia, Ohio State. So, as I said, that wasn't gonna happen. The only major storyline that I see in the playoff is whether or not Cincinnati can upset Alabama, because anything else like Michigan, Georgia, like who really wants? I hate how Michigan plays, honestly. Like all that pound the rock stuff, counter power inside zone. Nobody wants to watch that for 4 quarters, bro. I'm sorry. Like,
it's gonna be a real 1980s game.
That's what I'm saying. Like, let it go. Like, nobody wants to watch that. We want to see high flying out. We want to see Bryce Young. We want to see C.J. Stroud. Even we want to see Desmond Ridder. But that particular game, C.J. McNamara versus Stetson Bennett, turn it off, bro.
That's must see TV, bro. You so sweet.
Okay. Are you gonna be in front of the TV seeing it since it's a must watch?
Which game are you more likely to watch? Bama, Cincinnati?
Yes. Big Ten football makes me sleepy, bro. I'm not watching that game. It'll be background noise. I'll probably have it on my iPad. I'll be playing the game. Nobody wants to watch that.
Bro, chances are Bama's gonna smack Cincinnati. That's like, it's a good chance that's gonna happen.
I mean, we had like Cincinnati didn't just play Georgia tough, really tough last year.
That was a year ago, bro.
Bro, okay.
That was a year ago.
Okay.
I mean,
I got faith in Cincinnati, but this Alabama offense and this, more particularly this Alabama defense, is still cream of the crop. So talking about these matchups, we see them now, we know them now. Who do y'all like in each matchup? And give me a quick explanation why.
You go first, Vance.
Man, listen. Bama, Cincinnati, there's literally one matchup, and it's going to be the main matchup. This is the only chance Cincinnati has to win the game, and that's Sauce Gardner, best corner in the nation, versus Jameson Williams, the best wide receiver in the nation, maybe the best player in the nation. He hasn't gotten any Heisman consideration, but the way he's hooping, he's carrying Alabama just like Devontae Smith carried them last season. But with that being said, that's going to be a matchup where if he can hold Jameson to under 100 yards, it's going to be scary, especially with the other receiver tearing his ACL, John Mechie. Yeah, so, I mean, Alabama still has weapons, bro, but when you take away one of the most explosive weapons, you only have one explosive weapon left. The other guys are good receivers, possession receivers. Now, guys that can take the top off where you, let's just say Sauce and Jameson cancel each other out, who's going to be that other weapon for Alabama that's going to take the top off of a really good Cincinnati defense? I'm not sure. With that being said, I think Bryce Young is the weapon that's going to take the top off, and he's going to be the game changer. And give me Bama in that game. Michigan, Georgia. Josh, you're not lying. That's going to be a boring-ass game. With that being said, bro, Michigan caught fire late. I think they're really on fire. I believe in Harbaugh. Give me Michigan, believe it or not.
I mean, that's good for you. Jim Harbaugh's a really, really, really weird guy, but he did get that monkey off his back and saved himself probably millions of dollars by beating Ohio State. But I can go with the Georgia game just to get that one out the way too. Like I said, hopefully that's the first game because I'm not trying to watch that at 10 o'clock at night just to be transparent with y'all. But it's still two very competitive, hard-nosed football teams. Talk about Michigan, Hassan Haskins ran through what we consider one of the best teams in America, Ohio State. 5 touchdowns, almost 200 yards. If he had been, if he just had a little bit more national recognition throughout the season, that could have been a potential Heisman moment. But I don't think he replicates that success versus that Georgia defense. Talk about N'Kobe Dean, Adam Anderson, Jordan Davis. The list goes on and on. No need to go too more in depth on that one. I don't think that Cade McNamara or J.J. McCarthy has enough firepower or offensive weapons to defeat that Georgia defense. And honestly, I'll be surprised that they scored more points than Prairie View did in the SWAC championship, though. So Georgia, that one, take the points, however you want to play it. But this Alabama-Cincinnati game is I think it's a lot more interesting. I don't necessarily that you guys may be taking it. I understand why y'all feel the way y'all feel. Vegas feels a very similar way. I don't think I will ever see another 2-touchdown underdog in the CFP again. But this is a really interesting matchup. You got guys. Cincinnati is not your typical. This is not Northern Illinois with Jordan Lynch. This is a Power 5 level team with Power 5 level talent in every game, in every unit. Talking about the D line, the O line, the secondary. You mentioned guys like Sauce Gardner, running back rooms, guys like Jerome Ford that came from Alabama, and then talk about Desmond Ritter, who could potentially be a day 1 or day 2 quarterback. So, man, I don't. Everything sensible is telling me to take Alabama, but just because of what they just did to Georgia. But I'm gonna take them. I'm gonna still be sensible. I really like Cincinnati. I really like them a lot. I'll pick them to cover those 2 touchdowns, and I think that the performance they'll have will open a lot of people's eyes about the kind of football that's played outside of the Power 6, outside of the Power 5. But at the end of the day, I would have picked them against any other team in this playoff except Alabama. You talk about Bryce Young. You talk about Jameis Williams. You talk about Brian Robinson, that dominant O-line up front. I think it'll be just a little bit too much to handle for the Bearcats.
So I'm going to jump in. I'm going to hop on the Bama train too. But I will say, just like Josh said, I don't think this is a 2-touchdown, 2-possession game. I think this game is going to be a lot closer than people think it will be. And I think that would especially be the case if Cincinnati can get Jerome Ford going. Jerome Ford, that running back, we saw what he did in the AAC championship game. And you also got to remember, this is a guy that transferred from Alabama to Cincinnati. So he's got something personal on this game. And if they can get him going, I think Cincinnati can make this game super close, super competitive. Because if you look at this Cincinnati offense, it isn't just Desmond Ritter. It's Desmond Ritter and Jerome Ford putting in work in that backfield. Ford is a 100-yard per game rusher. So if they can get that run game going offensively, I think they can give Bama some trouble. But like Van said, Bryce Young's the X factor in this game. We've seen the records he's broken, the big-time games he's had throwing the football. I think this will be another game for Bryce Young. Maybe not putting up the big numbers, but making the plays that are necessary to win against a very stingy Cincinnati defense. And then moving on to the UGA Michigan game, I think you look at this game, it's going to be a defensive, hard-hitting football game. And I like UGA for one reason, but the biggest X factor in this game is Stetson Bennett. If Stetson Bennett can come out and perform in a big-time game, which I haven't seen him do yet, you look what he did versus Alabama, 29 for 48, 340 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. That's not going to win you a game versus Michigan. Every possession has to count, and he has to lean on his defense if he wants to come out successful. Take advantage of his opportunities, short field, turnovers, all of that, and then put drives together when it really matters. Answer a score with the score, and just keep that offense moving throughout the game, eat up the clock. And I think personally, if Georgia can get up 2 possessions on Michigan, I think that's ball game. Force Michigan's quarterback to be a player, and I think that's what it is.
Let me ask y'all this, bro. If you're the head coach, you Kirby Smart, who you starting, Stetson Bennett or JT Daniels?
Stetson
You
Bennett,
gotta
bro.
keep it consistent. Can't switch up a quarterback now.
Everybody's been talking about how high the ceiling is with this Georgia offense with JT Daniels, and I really don't believe it, honestly. He has a little bit of a bigger arm, but he's not as mobile, and he doesn't have the same chemistry with these receivers and this offense in general that Stetson Bennett has. You know, we talk about, like Nick said, we talk about continuity and making plays, and Stetson Bennett has both of those in abundance. The ability for him to make plays outside of the pocket and extend drives and extend offenses for this Georgia defense, which isn't the most explosive offensively in the receiving room. It's an added dimension. I don't think that Jason Daniels can replicate those efforts.
Okay, so you guys both pick Georgia. Give me a final score. I'm gonna ask again the week before, but give me a final score right now. Georgia versus Michigan.
I'm gonna go 28-10.
That's great. I'm gonna say the same thing actually. 2018.
Okay, final score for Alabama, Cincinnati.
35-28.
31-27.
All right.
31-28 actually.
I'm thinking like 51-28. I don't think they're gonna stop Alabama, but okay.
I mean, Sauce Gardner is probably the best DB in college football right now. So, I mean if anybody gonna slow down Jamison Williams, it's gonna be him. And then John Majors towards it. I mean, there are like 17 guys waiting in the wings of Alabama to go off in the national championship game. But still, though, it's just, you know, I'm a believer in the Cincinnati team. You know, Luke Fickell has set a culture at that school coming from Ohio State, and they have tried for years now to go out and get those big games. You talk about a Georgia last year, you talk about a Notre Dame this year, even in Indiana at the start of the season, where we thought that they were going to be a top 25 team. So they haven't been afraid to play anybody. They haven't been shy about their expectations to get into the playoff. And I think that this team has, like any other team in this playoff, I might pick Cincinnati, but they just happen to run up in the Grim Reaper and Nick Saban. So it's tough.
This would have been a perfect year to have 8 teams in the playoff.
Really?
Yeah, it would have been, but you know, too much like right, honestly.
Every college football season, we know how the coaching carousel goes. People get fired, people get hired. But so far, the carousel has been crazy. It's been a lot of hires in college football. We're going to go through them a little bit for y'all today. So just looking at the new hires, Brian Kelly takes his talents to LSU. Lincoln Riley goes to the West Coast and USC. Mario Cristobal heads all the way across the country to Miami. Brett Venables finally gets a head coaching job in Oklahoma. Marcus Freeman takes the job in Notre Dame. And Billy Napier takes his talents to Florida. So looking at all these hires, which hire do you guys like the most?
I'm definitely got to go with the Lincoln Riley USC hire. You know, they seemingly pulled a rabbit out of their ass in terms of finding a guy that wasn't available. Even, you know, I would say Brian Kelly wasn't super available at Notre Dame, but Lincoln Riley is a guy. Oklahoma is a job tour, especially with the recruiting ground, the status of the program, and just the pedigree of OU. That's a job that when you go to, you retire at, a la Bob Stoops. But to parlay that into another historical job with more money and an even better location, and also a guy that seemingly is a perfect fit in terms of high octane, you know, QB happy offense. I think USC will be on top sooner rather than later. And I definitely think that, I mean, you already see it on the recruiting trip. They've already had at least 8 or 9 guys flip from OU to USC. And you're talking about that's just the guys that are following Lincoln directly. You don't even talk about, you know, the gate around California, a la Penny Hardaway, and actually win. I think that USC can return to those Pete Carroll days very soon.
I'm kind of piggybacking off your Lincoln Riley point, because that's what I think is the best hire as well. There hasn't been an elite quarterback in the Pac-12 since Justin Herbert. And before Herbert, maybe Marcus Mariota was the last elite quarterback, Josh Rosen, even though he didn't win. Josh Rosen, Sam Darnold, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There hasn't just been that elite quarterback prospect to come out of the Pac-12, especially in terms of Heisman consideration. And what does Lincoln Riley bring to USC? 2 Heisman winners and a Heisman finalist at the quarterback position. So I think Lincoln Riley can come in, bring that Oklahoma offense, a defense that was starting to get going in his last season in OU. And I think he can turn this USC program into something special. In all honesty, I think this was the perfect hire for USC to get their program back on track and back to where they want it to be.
Yeah. Lincoln Riley seems like the obvious answer, but I'm going to go with another hire that was probably the most important. It was the most important hire out of all the hires, and that's Brett Venables at Oklahoma. With Clemson, it's been one of the most dominant defenses, dominant programs in the past 5 to 10 years. Besides Alabama, they probably was the second most dominant. It probably goes Alabama, Clemson, then everybody else, especially in the last 5. And he's a defensive. He was a defensive coordinator at Clemson, and he's going to bring something to Oklahoma that hasn't been at Oklahoma literally since we've been alive, and that's defense. And the offense is always going to be the offense. I feel as if you can implement the plan. The recruiting won't be a problem. He recruited at Clemson. Now he's going to go recruit at Oklahoma. He can recruit nationally. He doesn't have to stick around, stay local. He can if he wants to. But I think that's a really good hire for him to go to Oklahoma. And I feel as if a dark horse, that would be just moving Mark Freeman to the head coach of Notre Dame. Like I said, Notre Dame, their schedule isn't really that hard. You just got to be 1 or 2, maybe top 10 teams, top 25 teams, and you make the college football playoff. That's all they have to do. Win 11-1 this year. I mean, nobody was expected. Usually Cincinnati, the group of 5 team, the best group of 5 team doesn't get in. So that spot usually would have went to Notre Dame. It's just this year you couldn't deny Cincinnati. So I feel as if that's also a dark horse spot because Notre Dame can recruit nationally just like Oklahoma.
I think, to be honest, bro, I think the 2 you named are also very good hires. Because Marcus Freeman being moved up, there was a lot of buzz about him getting a head coaching job elsewhere. And I think it speaks volumes to Marcus Freeman that even though Brian Kelly left, the majority of Notre Dame assistants are staying at Notre Dame with Marcus Freeman.
Facts.
So it's really just a new head man. And I think that Notre Dame program could be very successful under Marcus Freeman.
That Brian Kelly hiring, bro. Give me a letter grade.
Boy, that's a D-.
You so disrespectful. You disrespectful. It's at least a C+.
Borderline F. Bro, Brian Kelly is not a winner. He's a regular season winner. He's not a big game winner. Bro, think about it, bro. Last year, COVID year, everybody, if this is Notre Dame's best chance to make, you know what I'm saying, a college football playoff run, they play in the ACC schedule because, you know, COVID, everything, you know, you got to play within your conference, yada, yada. This man got embarrassed. You beat Clemson early in the regular season without Trevor Lawrence. Okay, cool. That's cute. Whatever.
Yeah.
But guess what happens when you play Clemson in the ACC championship with Trevor Lawrence? 30-10. Get your little sorry ass out. And then you know what? The committee is nice to you. They put you in the playoffs, but you got to play Alabama. Guess what happens? 31-14. Get your little sorry ass out of here. When has Brian Kelly ever been competitive against SEC competition or against cream of the crop competition? I'm not seeing it, bro. This is a terrible hire for LSU. Like, this program is going to be stuck at the bottom of the SEC, all because of Brian Kelly.
And then Oklahoma and Texas come in. They might be better than Texas, but Oklahoma going to take them overtake them, especially if they realign the conferences and it's just LSU and the Mississippi schools. And who else? Arkansas, Missouri.
Yeah.
I think Oklahoma going to run the SEC West.
That's real disrespectful.
All right. Let me ask you this then, Josh. True or false? Brian Kelly will win a national championship at LSU. The last 3 head coaches at LSU have won a national championship. True or false? Brian Kelly will make it 4 in a row.
I can see it. Like, you got to think about it. He was at Notre Dame.
True or false, bro? I ain't trying to hear no essay.
Bro, this is what we supposed to do, bro. This is the whole podcast. Like, we're supposed to give our analysis, my boy. What are you talking about? Just straight up.
Let me hear your answer first and then give your reason.
Okay, I say true. you're going from Notre Dame, a place with high academic standards, a place in the middle of Ohio that's really hard to recruit to, and also you have a lot of different things, external factors, and talking about on Notre Dame's campus that makes it very unattractive and much less attractive in the SEC school. Like Notre Dame, you have to stay on campus in the dorms all 4 years. They have like very high academic standards to get into Notre Dame. That's why they have to recruit nationally because there's no real fertile recruiting grounds around middle of earth Ohio, so they got to go each and everywhere to get the recruits. Brian Kelly transitioning to LSU and really Baton Rouge, anybody that he needs in terms of talent wise is gonna be within a 100-mile radius of that campus, and they're gonna want to go to that school. So I don't think you can I don't think you can discount just the amount of talent that he's gonna be able to have access to. So understand y'all concerns about how he looked at Notre Dame, but honestly, I think that's the way that he recruits and the way that the talent that he'll be able to establish and the culture that he'll be able to set will be way different at LSU and Notre Dame just because it has to be. I mean, you're talking about a guy going from, like I said, the South Bend, Indiana to Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Like you're not going to be able to be the same guy regardless. Now you need to start faking that accent. That might be a problem.
Yeah.
But I just think
that alone tells you how his recruiting is going to go, bro.
Like you got to think about it, Nick. Like he's gonna be the same, a similar case with Lincoln Riley. He just needs those gates around New Orleans, Baton Rouge, and the state of Louisiana in general. And it's gonna be way easier for him to do it in that state than it is for Lincoln Riley to do it in California, just because of populace and personality. Because California people, they think a little different than people in the South. We all know, all from the South. Guys from the South.
Wait, hold on. Tom, you're not gonna say Brian Kelly is gonna out recruit Lincoln Riley.
I didn't say that. I said it's going to be easier. It's going to be easier for Brian Kelly to get in-state recruits than it will be for Lincoln Riley, because all those guys at LSU still want to go to LSU, even with how they've been playing. How many guys from California want to go to USC right now? I
mean, I'm just saying, Lincoln Riley was pulling West Coast guys to Oklahoma. Now that he at USC, guess where them West Coast guys gonna go? USC, baby, fight on Trojans. Okay. Easy like that.
All right, if y'all the number one recruit, how would you guys go around the process? Would you do it based on the campus, based on the school, or based on the coach?
It's simple, bro. I'm gonna go one where I got the best opportunity to play. Two is gonna be based on the coach. How it feel, how the team feel, and then three. I mean, campus is nice, but at the end of the day, you got to realize you're a Division I football player, so it's not too much that's out of reach for you. If you get what I'm saying.
Out of all the my bad, you can go, Josh.
No, I'm just saying that sounds like a pretty accurate list in terms of like where would I be able to get on? Where's my opportunity to get on the field as early as possible? I don't know. The way I look at it, like you are a Division I football player, but wherever you pick your school at, that is the place that you're gonna live at for the next 4 years of your life. So I may put campus over coach, but honestly, they're interchangeable. So, I mean, a coach's job in recruiting is to sell you a dream. So you're going to be hearing a lot of the similar things from every coach that tries to recruit you, especially if I'm going to be the number one player in the country. So honestly, for me, that would be the big thing to where I didn't see where I would be most comfortable at. So, yeah.
All right, Josh Crawford, you the number one defensive tackle in the 2022 class. Would you rather go play for Brian Kelly at LSU, Lincoln Riley at USC, Mario Cristobal at Miami, Brent Venables at OU, or Billy Napier at Florida?
Brian Kelly, LSU, no question. Just the culture that's at that spot at LSU, especially defensively, all the draft picks that they got, just being in that stadium, USC, OU, like they all got great crowds, great stadiums, but there's nothing like being in Desert Valley for a night game and an SEC opponent. So, yeah, it really wasn't that hard for me, honestly.
What about you, Nick?
Well, I'm just going to say, you're talking about the atmosphere. Atmosphere is cool, but when you go like 3 and 10, the atmosphere kind of starts to trickle down. But anyway, for me, number one receiver, guess where I'm going? What Biggie say? Going, back to Cali. I'm taking my talents to USC. I'm putting on the burgundy and gold with the black cleats.
Hey Vance, we gotta get the little button they got on Wild Out when somebody say something lame, they be like, oh, yeah, we need that. Somebody started for that moment. Yeah, DJ D-Ray, that was real lame right there for you, Nick, even for your standards. But
so who do you think is the worst hire out of all the new hires?
The worst, you talking about Venables, Kelly, Riley, Napier.
Cristobal and Napier.
The worst? I mean, there's not really a bad hire per se on that list. Like, I'm not gonna lie.
Shit.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, my biggest thing is how will Billy Napier transition from Group of 5 team to SEC school? I know a lot of people talk about him being the Wonder Boy and things like that, and had a lot of success at Louisiana. But this is regardless of how we think about that transition, it's still a difficult one. Talking about playing in the Sun Belt to go in the SEC each and every week. So I don't know. I hate to say worse, but that's the one I had the most questions about. I'll say it like that.
Understood. And so to kind of wrap up this discussion a little bit, which one of these teams are going to win a national championship first? USC, LSU, Notre Dame. I'm talking about national championship, like college football playoff. National championship.
I'm gonna say.
Or you can throw a wild card in from the other new hires, but.
I think USC because the Pac-12 is so weak. But I think that Brian Kelly still is not a super bad hire. But, I mean, you're going to be competing with Oregon every year. That's about it. You're talking about going to the SEC, you're talking about Oklahoma, talking about Alabama, you're talking about Georgia. So I don't think anybody steps into LSU right away and competes for a national championship or wins one within 2 to 3 years. But at USC, that's a realistic possibility, especially if they can get the amount of recruits that they have previously. So I think it's because of strength of schedule. I'll say it like that. USC has
right now. I'm gonna say Oklahoma, but they have to do it before they get to the SEC. If they get to the SEC, they won't win it for another 10 years.
Don't they go next year?
No, 2025.
Oh, okay.
So they got a 3-year window to win it, bro. They have the best chance. If they don't do it in the next 3 years, it's gonna be USC. I'm gonna go with Oklahoma for right now.
I'm gonna go with USC too. Easier path to the playoffs. Riley's a proven recruiter, and I think USC is a program that isn't in terrible shape. They just need to take that next step into becoming dominant in the Pac-12 first, then being dominant on a national level. And I think USC can take that step.
So with the new coaching carousel, there's going to be a lot of high-profile players. As you guys know, the transfer portal is a really big thing. So I want to know you guys' opinions on 3 players and where will they play next season? First player is Caleb Williams, quarterback, Oklahoma.
I think he stays at Oklahoma, bro. He's established himself as a winner there. I think he stays.
Same, me too. Brett Venables is somebody that has over a decade experience at OU. Caleb Williams, somebody that's had instant success as a true freshman. I think it'll be a tough call for him to go anywhere else to try to replicate that success.
Okay, Spencer Rattler, 1 more year of eligibility. Quarterback, Oklahoma. Yeah, he has 1 more year of eligibility. Before he goes pro, of course. I mean,
I'm about to say I'll go with the Montreal Oilets or whatever CFL team that he wants to go to. Really hurt his draft stock. This will probably be the first time we've ever seen a guy go from projected number 1 pick to now. I think he would go day 3, maybe be undrafted. I'll never see somebody hurt their draft like as much as he did. Like, people talk about the argument all the time that why guys shouldn't sit out. This is the reason why you should sit out and not play college football. Stuff like this can happen. So, I mean, he's a West Coast kid. You talk about Arizona State. You talk about Oregon. Anthony Brown was less than impressive. Somebody that can come in there and give them an infusion of talent. Jaden Daniels at Arizona State. I think he may declare for the draft. But I don't know exactly, but I would just pick a West Coast school and a Pac-12 school just because he can get closer to home, get a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Spencer Rattler, I think he ends up at Arizona State. Homecoming, became a high school football star in Arizona. And now you're at an Arizona State program that's currently headed by Jaden Daniels, a guy who threw 10 touchdowns and 9 picks this year. I think Spencer Rattler, if he can get his head on straight, will come in and be an instant improvement. And I think that he's kind of the quarterback that Herm Edwards was looking for to lead the Arizona State team. You think about Manny Wilkins, who was there 2 seasons ago. I think Spencer Rattler can do a lot of the same things with his athleticism, but I think he brings another dynamic in as being a complete package as a passer.
All right. And the last player is Texas legend, the $1 Million Man, Quinn Ewers. He has 1 year eligibility, assuming he goes pro. He's down to 3 schools: Texas, Texas Tech, and Baylor.
You said he has 1 year's eligibility. I thought he was a freshman.
Before he goes, no. So he left early in high school. So basically, after next season, he'll basically be considered a junior in January. Next January, he'll be considered a junior.
Oh wow!
I think out of those 3 schools, I think Texas Tech is for him. Wants to go home, go back to the state of Texas. We talked about Joey McGuire and his connections. I think that works out, seamlessly. Think about what Pat Mahomes did at Texas Tech some years ago. Then Quinn Ewers can come on and be the next face of that Texas Tech program.
I'll go with Texas again as well. And I don't know, it's just kind of like, our big state school, University of Tennessee, Knoxville. Despite their consistent underachieving, they continue to get recruits. And I think that Sark can do a good job convincing Quinn Ewers that, this will be a good fit. They got guys like James Worthy. They got guys on the perimeter for Longhorns to make plays, for him to show off their good arm. It will be interesting to see what they do with the starting quarterback there right now, Casey Washington, who looks really good, and I think he's only a sophomore. But we're not talking about just any other 5-star recruit. We're talking about literally the number 1 guy in the country right now. That's down the street. This comes from down the street in South Lake. So Sark has shown the ability to recruit, to get high-profile guys in there and not win. And I think Quinn Ewers goes to Texas and probably still only wins 8 or 9 games, which will be a success for them, honestly.
Bowl season is among us. So, it's a lot of bowl games, lawnmower bowls, radio bowls, all of that. But what we going to do, we're going to tell y'all our favorite bowl game matchup and the one we think you should definitely tune in to. So I'm going to get it started outside of the college football playoff bowl game. So the bowl game I'm most excited for is the Alamo Bowl, a 10-2 Oklahoma taking on a 10-3 Oregon team. You look at these 2 teams, Oregon lost in their conference championship. Oklahoma blew their chance to play in their conference championship and even play in the college football playoff. So both of these teams are teams that were right on the bubble of playoff contention, but they just couldn't get the job done. So they got something to prove coming into this game. But I'm really interested to see how this Oregon defense and Kayvon Thibodeau stacks up against Caleb Williams and this Oklahoma offense. Oklahoma has playmakers on the perimeter and all over that offense. And we know what Oregon is capable of on the defensive end, especially in their win over Ohio State. So I think this will be a good game for both teams. And I'm not going to give a prediction on them, but I'm just telling you need to be in front of your TV to watch this Alamo Bowl, point blank period.
What say you, Mr. Laws?
I'm gonna go with the Cheez-It Bowl. It's gonna be Clemson versus Iowa State. DJ Ugalele versus Brock Purdy. In the backfield, it's gonna be the battle of the backfields. Both teams are coming out disappointing seasons. Iowa State started off hot, a top 5 team, college football playoff team. They've lost 4 of their last 5. Now they're 7-5. Then you have a streaking Clemson football team. One of the best defenses. Actually, both teams are ranked in the top 10 in defenses. Clemson at number 9, Iowa State at number 10. I think it's going to be a defensive battle. But one thing I'm looking for in particular is just to see how Clemson finishes off this season. They start off really bad. Offense looked pitiful. But in their last 6 games, this is what they've done. 30 points in South Carolina, 48 points on Wake Forest, 44 points on UConn, 30 points on Louisville, 30 points on Florida State. And I'm really liking what I see from them. I think if DJ Ugalele can turn the corner, it could be another Final Four appearance, college football playoff appearance for Clemson next season.
That's interesting because a lot of people have been waiting on him to show out and be really impressive. There were a lot of expectations going into this season, but especially with how well he looked versus Notre Dame last year. But it's hard. There was a lot of expectations for a lot of quarterbacks this season. Talking about DJU, Spencer Rattler, Sam Howell, and all these guys seem to just fall a little bit short of what we expected from them. So I would just be a little careful, Vance, in terms of putting all your eggs in this quarterback.
Oh, I ain't putting no eggs in no baskets. That's why I said we gonna wait to see.
Oh, that's a fact. I feel you. But for my bowl game, I'll have to pick a matchup that has happened 2 out of 3 past years, and that's Baylor Ole Miss. And you talk about that game, the Sugar Bowl, a New Year's Six Bowl. It'll be an interesting matchup in terms of strength on strength. Baylor has one of the best defenses in college football. You talk about up front, you talk about in their secondary, we're able to really stymie a really momentous Oklahoma State offense, and you're talking about defeating OU as well, which is the aforementioned offensive guru Lincoln Riley. So they have shown up big in big games against some very explosive offenses. But that being said, I don't think they faced a quarterback or offense in general as talented as this Ole Miss offense with Matt Corral. So it'll be a very interesting matchup. You got guys like Abram Smith, who's led the Big 12 and rushing over 1,300 yards after transitioning from linebacker last season. So and then you got this is offensive talent over the field, but it's not going to be one of those games I don't think that's going to end up being like 59-51 shootouts, whoever has the ball last type of games. There's some legitimate defensive prospects. Both teams had a really good defense. Ole Miss's defense has been a little bit shaky, but they beat a team in Texas A&M that has a very similar makeup to Baylor. Talk about with a dominant run game and so quarterback play. Although Blake Shapen just completely showed out versus Oklahoma State in the Big 12 championship game. So in terms of
Bohannon should be back to the bowl game though. Big improvement.
Shout out, man. We just work teach your boss type shit. But I definitely think that this is the most interesting game, and just in terms of matchup styles and whose strength will win out. So I guess I won't predict it either, just because neither one of y'all did. But I definitely I want to see Matt Corral against what potentially may be the best defense he's faced this year.
What do you guys? Let's say you guys are a day one prospect for the NFL draft. Would you guys sit out a bowl game? You're not playing the college football playoff. Y'all had a disappointing season. Y'all went 9-3, 8-4, but you're projected to be a top 30 pick. All right, would you guys sit out the bowl game, or would you guys play?
Yes, I would sit it out because they hold no value once you get outside the playoff. 9-3, 8-4. I don't see myself going to a New Year's Six Bowl. And even then, there's just too many examples of guys. We look at Jalen Smith now. We look at Jalen Smith's career now. But I think a lot of people forget that he got hurt in his bowl game for Notre Dame, and this kind of different player that he would be if that injury hadn't happened to him. He missed his whole first year with Dallas, and he dropped from a top 10, top 15 guy to get drafted. I think the second round. I think Vance. So it's too much to risk. There's not enough upside, and just from a pure business perspective, it doesn't make any sense for a lot of these guys to go out of these bowl games.
Well, I will say I would play, and that's only if I'm 100% healthy. I feel good going into the game. If I got a lingering ankle issue, I pulled my hammy a couple of weeks ago. I'm battling back from that. I wouldn't play. But if I'm healthy, I'm good to go. I'm gonna play. It's I didn't play the whole season. God forbid I get injured in this one game, but I'm gonna go out and try to put on a show. It's really your last college game. You know what I'm saying? The last game with that group of guys. So I definitely play.
Yeah, bro. It's just it just made me think of the matchups y'all threw out. Josh mentioned Ole Miss. Matt Corral may not even play. That's just assuming he plays. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's a very good point, Vance.
Now you know how we always do it. Wrap up every episode with our game balls, and I'm going to go first. I got to give my game ball to number 42, J-Ron McVay, Baylor's safety. Made the game-winning tackle on 4th and goal with 24 seconds left in Baylor's Big 12 conference championship game versus Oklahoma State. A stretch play by the running back got bounced outside. Guess who was there to make the tackle for him out of bounds? J-Ron McVay. Big-time play. Secured Baylor's Big 12 championship win. And he finished the game with 9 tackles. A great game for him. So he's got to get my game ball. Big-time players make big-time plays.
What say you, Mr. Vance?
You know who just got a $17 million contract?
Who's that?
Ed Orgeron for being bought out. I'm gonna give my game ball to college football head coaches. $94.4 million. That was the amount of buyout money that was spent this season in December and November. Ed Orgeron, $17 million. Dan Mullen, $12 million. Gary Patterson, $12 million. Clay Helton, Georgia Southern head coach, $10 million to move to Georgia. Hey, bro, pay me. Justin Fuente, $8.7 million. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 coaches were paid over $3 million to be bought out. You gonna pay me not to work? Okay, cool. Game ball. Go.
Hey, that's a very good point. Just talking about the coaching hires in general. We gotta, this is a pro-black show. We celebrate black men. Got to throw Mel Tucker and my boy Marcus Freeman in there, just because get to that bag
James
as
Franklin,
a black
too.
man, and James Franklin too. Yeah, because a lot of people thought he was gonna be the guy for that USC job too as well. So thank you, Nick. Yeah, tell him to count my money. But continue with the theme of being a black show. We got to celebrate, well, not one of the few, but one of, something that does still look a little bit, I don't know, a little bit weird in my eyes, having a black guy be the quarterback at Alabama and having a lot of success doing it. I'm talking about Mr. Bryce Young, which seems to be the Heisman winner after the performance that he had against Georgia in the SEC championship game. This is a defense that, like I said earlier, if I had a vote, I would just literally put Georgia defense as a collective unit as my Heisman winner and have all 11 guys come accept the trophy. And for him to have 300 yards in one half of offense, which hasn't been done since Cam Newton was at Auburn in 2010. I think we all remember how dominant Cam Newton was during his Auburn time. To speak to the amount of greatness that Bryce Young put on that field on Saturday. Talking about a defense that's giving up a little less than a touchdown each game, 6.9 points per game. When you go against a defense like that that's been ballyhooed to talk about a potentially great dynastic type of defense, and you don't have any turnovers or any sacks, that just lets me know the type of the ball that Bryce Young is, because they were coming from him all day and he was able to make plays inside the pocket, make plays outside the pocket, and do a lot of things to keep that Alabama offense afloat, where the run game wasn't, doing the best job. Brian Robinson only 55 yards. Bryce Young had 40 yards of his rushing touchdown himself. So for him to come in with Nick Saban and those Alabama guys being a touchdown underdog, which I think I told y'all in the group chat, I don't believe in that. I don't care how you feel about Alabama. You never should put them as that big of underdogs. For Bryce Young to show up and show out and have that good of a game against a defense that a lot of people thought that couldn't happen against, you get my game ball. QBR 98 QBR against Georgia. That doesn't even sound right. So, I think that he firmly wrapped up the Heisman, and it'll be tough. But I think that in that potential rematch in the national championship game, I think Alabama has to be favored.
So anyway, let's wrap this episode up. Appreciate y'all. Make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe, and stay tuned with us. We're going to be with y'all all bowl season, all NBA season. We ain't going nowhere. So lock in with us. Make sure y'all hit subscribe, and we out here.
Boom, baby.